And this just in on CBS Sports HQ, the Arizona Cardinals are officially introducing former Eagles defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon as their next head coach. Gannon replaces Cliff Kingsbury, who was fired after the regular season. Now the Cardinals finished 4-13 this past season and last in the NFC West. And getting a look at the Eagles D under Jonathan Gannon in the 2022 season, ranking first in yards per play and first in sacks, tied for fourth in takeaways with 27. This hire leaves Philly without both of their coordinators. OC Shane Steichen was hired as the Colts head coach, and now Gannon is over to Arizona. Here's more from Jonathan Gannon at his first press conference as Arizona's head coach moments ago.
And things like that, but just know this: we're going to be very adaptable. I'm talking the Arizona Cardinals. This is what our team's going to be. We're going to be adaptable. We're going to be violent. We're going to be explosive, and we're going to be smart. And all three phases go into that. And we will maximize the talents of the players that we have, and that's how we're going to win games. And don't get it twisted, we're going to win games. So with that, I'll open it up to questions.
Okay, we have a microphone on this side and microphone on that side, so we're in the middle here. So if you have a question, raise your hand, they'll get you a microphone. Just please identify yourself. We'll start with Bob.
Bob McMahon, I'm in Arizona Republic. Talk about what do you mean by adaptable? I get the other three things, but what is adaptable in your system?
Yeah, good question, Bob. It's everything to me. The game continually changes and adapts, and the game in 2023 is not going to look like it was this year, and that's because coaches are smart. So I famously said a line back in when I first took over as a defensive coordinator of Philly that I don't have a scheme, and people were very uncomfortable with that, and I was not, because I don't believe in a scheme. I believe in putting the players that we have in positions to be successful. So we're going to look different week to week, predicated on who we have playing and who we are playing. And I think that you have to be ever evolving and adaptable and have a growth mindset to stay ahead of the curve, or you will get beat. So that's what I mean by adaptable. Good question.
Hey, how's it going? Tyler Drake with Arizona Sports. Congratulations on the new job. I just wanted to get your take on why do you feel like you're the right fit to turn this thing around, and for Michael and Monty, what really led you to be, hey, this is our guy?
Well, I'll take it real quick. I think he came in with a vision and plan that the vision aligned with where we want to be, about getting back to the top of the NFC West and competing in January and competing to get to the Super Bowl and win it. So that's number one, the vision. His plan he outlined, some of which he'll get in today, some of which we're not going to get into, but I'm excited about it. It's the view that he had of our elite quarterback and getting him back to being the playmaker that he is, and making sure we build around him and put our players in positions, especially Kyler as our quarterback, to really get after it. And I was excited about what his plan is and how he outlined it.
And really, to echo what Michael said, it's a vision that we all share for the entire football organization. The alignment, the shared idea of what it takes, and to put our players in the best possible position to win, and that includes a wide variety of different departments in the football operations department.
I would say I'm the guy for the job. That's what I would say. Just talking with Michael and Monty, very excited to get started, but just what they just said, our vision of how we want to run the football team, I would say that any job I've ever taken, there's a little light, any job I've ever taken, there's always a big-time challenge ahead of you, and I've succeeded in all those, starting from the ground floor of the business all the way up until this seat. So what I don't know about the job, I'll figure out fast, and I'll lean on the people that I can trust and lean on, and we're going to get it rolling.
Coach over here, Richard Sines, Fox 10. Welcome to the Valley. You kind of talked about starting from the ground floor of your career. You have a scouting background as well as Monty did. Did that help in your connection during the interview process? And did it help when you were evaluating the talent on this particular roster, for example, Kyler Murray?
Absolutely. John Mancini sitting back there taught me how to scout back in the day with the St. Louis Rams. Yeah, I think that, I was on the personnel side for 3 years, and it gave me a different view of the game. Now, ultimately, I love working with the players and the schematics of the game. That's why I wanted to get back into coaching. But it gave me a bird's eye view of how that operation runs, why the personnel side and the scouts that are, going on school calls are so vital to a team's success, because I did that. And I feel like I learned how to evaluate players as I was going through that process. So I was a college scout for 2 years and a pro scout for 1. And, know the league better than anyone else. That was what I got. That was my job recognition, or my job description of when I was a pro scout. So when you do that, you have a very specific vision of what you want in a player as it relates to the scheme. And then you have a very specific vision of the makeup of the players that you want, which that's, I know Monty and Michael have heard me say this multiple times. Everybody that we bring in here, or that is here, or that will be a Cardinal, will have elite football character, because you will not hit your ceiling if you don't have that. And what I mean by that is you have to be team first, and that's how we're going to build this team.
Hey, Jonathan. I'm Josh Weinfuss with ESPN.
How you doing, Josh?
What have the last 4 or 5 days been like for you, just between the Super Bowl, interviews going back and forth? My second question is, will you call the defense?
Josh, I'll answer the second one first. Not sure on that yet. That's going to depend a little bit on the makeup of the staff. I got a really good blueprint in Philly of how that went with the head coach and how he adapted to make our team better. So I'll figure that out as we come. The last 4 or 5 days have been very normal for me. You got to adapt as things come at your door, and they've been exciting. Obviously, I have a lot of energy and emotion that went into the game, and then losing that game, and then staying the night here, not knowing I was going to stay the night and interview for a head coaching job. But you take everything in stride, and you do the best that you can. And I'll say that it was a fun 48 hours. I'll say that because I enjoyed myself.
Jonathan, Cameron Cox, 12 News. Welcome to the Valley, Coach. Can you take us through the meeting with Michael and Monty? I mean, it had to be tough to flip the page from the Super Bowl, but they both mentioned your energy. What did you say in that meeting to get this job?
Yeah, Cameron, you can ask them what I said to get the job, but I would say this. You'll hear me say a lot of times, I tell our players this all the time, and I do believe you can't just tell players one thing and not live it yourself. I believe in being where your feet are. And I don't live in the past. I don't live in the future. I live in the present. So compartmentalizing on Monday morning to get up and talk to Michael and Monty, that's what I did. And I obviously had prepped for that opportunity for a long time. And basically, I did not have a book. I didn't have a piece of paper. I had one note card. I showed Michael my call sheet from the Super Bowl and said, this is how I do things. I write it by hand. And ultimately, we talked about what was in my brain and what was in my heart, and led me to this seat right now.
Jonathan, Darren Urban from azcardinals.com. A lot of people are wondering what you're going to do at offensive coordinator and who the day-to-day guys are there going to be coaching Kyler. I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on that and kind of what your philosophy is for that.
Yeah, that's step one. We're starting to look at some different candidates and looking at interviewing some people here in the next 48 hours. And but I have a very specific vision of how I want to play on offense. And the person that comes in here to run the offense is going to understand that everything that we do will be structured around the quarterback position to maximize his skill set. And we have an elite one. We also have some elite players at different positions already on the roster that I'm very excited to work with. And that's what we're going to do. So, but just as an overall general philosophy of being adaptable, we're going to maximize Kyler's skill set. We're going to be adaptable. We're going to generate explosives. We're going to protect the football and be situationally smart. And we know that when you hear me talk about explosives and takeaways, we know those are winning stats. And that's all three phases: offense, defense, special teams. That's what we will preach, and that's what we're going to practice, and that's what the players will be educated on, and that's how we're going to play. And so if you do those things, you'll be in the playoffs.
If you're just tuning in to HQ, the Cardinals have introduced Jonathan Gannon as their next head coach. He was the Eagles' D coordinator for the last 2 seasons. The Cardinals' 2022 season, not great. Kyler Murray tearing his ACL in Week 14. They lost the last 7 games of the season, finishing 4-13, last in their division. That is tied for the most losses in a season in team history. And then, of course, firing Cliff Kingsbury and now hiring Jonathan Gannon. With Jonathan Gannon over to Arizona, it's the final piece in the coaching carousel. Of course, the Eagles, without both of their coordinators now after their OC Shane Steichen moved to the Colts to replace Frank Reich. The Broncos moving on from Nate Hackett after a season, moving on to Sean Payton. The Texans firing Lovie Smith just after 1 season and then hiring the 49ers' DeMeco Ryans. And then the Panthers going from Matt Rule to Frank Reich.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.